Hello YouTube, Fiona Corwin here again. Today I'm following up on a request that I described in greater detail the emotional and or psychological changes that occurred once I began HRT. Before I began HRT, I had experienced a complete lack of the depression which had sort of dominated my life since puberty. And if you watch some of my other videos, I go into a little more detail about that. But since this is mostly about post HRT, I think that's where I'll stand. I began by taking spironolactone in January, and I took that for a month. At the time, I was disappointed because that's really I wanted to actually have spiro and estrogen at the same time. In the end, I'm actually somewhat thankful that that's how it worked out, mostly because it was nice to differentiate between the two medications. So when I began Spiro, my experience was I had lightheadedness. I would describe it almost like a wibble wibble, if that makes any sense to you. But it was hard for me to focus on anything, and I had this sense of calm, of peace, and just generally feeling right, if that makes any sense. And when I moved through that, that has sort of started to taper away by the time I began estrogen. I began estrogen the very next month, about exactly a month out, actually, and it was again, boom, right back to where I had that same mental space. I just felt right, if that makes any sense. It was amazing in terms of the level of just happiness. I remember my reaction was very much like, wow, this is what my brain has been looking for all these years. So it was amazing. I'm really glad that went down that way. In terms of stuff since then, I'm going to check my notes here, make sure I didn't miss anything. I have, as Zinnia Jones would describe, I have a symphony of emotions. I can be angry and happy and sad um, and annoyed and any number of other things all at the same time. And the emotions don't seem to conflict. It's rather more of a symphony, more of a wild animal, more of a wave of passion, perhaps, that you just kind of ride out. Some days are less fun than others. Some days I am very emotional and feel like crying, and would be hard put to even tell you why I feel like crying. And unlike when I was living as a man, I'm not ashamed of that. I think that's really pretty cool, actually. Um, I haven't been angry much. My anger used to be white hot, and I used to sear anything that got near me when I was pissed. Um, that hasn't been the case so much. I'm a lot slower to anger, and I haven't lost my temper really pretty much since before HRT, but it's been a long time since I lost my temper. One thing I have noticed is that I get hurt more easily. Um, the I'm just more sensitive to when people sort of trot on my feelings and don't respect my boundaries and don't treat me with the kind of affection or the kind of respect that I feel that I deserve. And I guess I'm less inclined now to actually put up with it, if that makes any sense. So there have been some emotional-ish outbursts, mostly at work, some with my wife, and that's just par for the course, I think. Um, I did cry more often. They're not generally long crying jags. They're just sort of short ones. They're not crazy. It's just little stuff. I tear up at everything. Although really, before HRT, I used to tear up at everything too. Um, this feels more sincere, I guess, would be the term I would use anyway. Um, as far as my sexual orientation, I would have described myself as a bi individual prior to starting HRT. I would have probably ranged it somewhere between, 85% for women, 15% for men. Um, since starting HRT, and we're pretty close to, yeah, pretty close to 6 months at this point out. Um, Actually, we're just past 6 months out. In any case, after 6 months, I would describe my orientation still as bi, and I would say that it is it's probably 75-25% for women now. The shift towards men doesn't bother me all that much. I've been with a man in my entire life, and I have to say that it was an enjoyable experience. It wasn't enough to cause me to switch what I wanted permanently. So I've always felt strongly attracted to women, so that's good. Let's see, other mental changes. My libido died at 4 months. I mean, just died. I had no interest whatsoever in having sex for really the past couple of months. So I would say at nearly 7 months, which is roughly where we're at, my libido has begun to come back, and it's different. As a man, it was mostly about getting with a woman and finishing. It was not particularly anything more than physical. These days, what I have going on is much more mental. I have to be in the right mood. I have to be seduced. I have to be touched in just the right way sometimes, and it's interesting because I'm kind of fussy, and that's okay. That's just what's so. Um, let's see. I don't know how much I want to tell you guys, but I guess I will say that build up to climax is longer. It is climax itself lasts longer. To give you perspective, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and it is a full body experience now, as compared to just sort of an experience centered more in the genitalia. Let's see. I haven't experienced any change in my feelings about my genitalia. I came to terms with that part of myself years ago, and I don't hate it. If it works mentally or physically for me, it can stay. At such point as that stops, then I may consider gender affirmation surgery. But we'll see what happens there. So I think that pretty well catalogs the mental changes for the time since HRT. Keep your questions coming, and I will do my best to answer them. I think that's all. Yeah, why not? Life is beautiful. Seize the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.